Hello and welcome back to Crit and Crit. I'm Scint.
I'm Axion.
And we are continuing our playthrough of EG while we discuss Ender's Game. Today, we're going to talk about the concept of childhood innocence, and specifically the idea that so much of society relies on, which is that children are innocent. So, innocence, I believe, can be boiled down to two definitions. One is the absence of guilt, proven innocent in a court of law, for example. But the one that most people tend to use when it comes to kids is children are ignorant. They do not know any better. They have not been exposed to the harshness and corruption of life, therefore they are innocent. Children misbehave, but it's not because they're actively malevolent. It's because they haven't been taught any different. That is what conventional wisdom would say. And it's interesting to discuss that in the context of a book like Ender's Game, where we have children being trained the way they are. Ooh, ouch.
That ruins my ability to jump up there.
Yep. You could try to time it right with a shredder, but your timing has not been stellar.
I'm not going to do that. There we go.
So yeah, we are introduced to the kids first with the Wiggins, of whom I think only Ender could be theoretically said to be innocent at the beginning. Because while Valentine has not really done anything objectionable, she has been dealing with Peter enough that she doesn't have any illusions about what kind of person he is. She's experienced enough that innocence would no longer truly apply, because she has lost her innocence through experience. And I think that would be the same, that would be true as well of Ender by the end of the story. After everything he's gone through, after everything they put him through to make him into the killing machine they need him to be, he can't go back to what he was. Nobody really wants him back where he was. Nobody really cares about him at all at the end, and he can't not know that. So, yeah, he's a precocious child, if, in my own opinion, somewhat annoying as a main character to read throughout the story. But I don't know if we can say he's ever truly innocent, because even at the beginning when he's got the monitor and when he gets taken out and he has to deal with the bullies, he knows exactly what he's doing, more or less. He doesn't know exactly how much excessive force he used, that he definitely made sure it would never be used again, this kid would never bother him again. He was deliberately kept ignorant of what actually happened.
Really, I would like not to fight you.
I'm not sure they're going to leave you an option.
Yep, which is why I'm just going to run away. I really need to get some help.
Anyway, what's your take on the archetype that children are innocent? Bring up your nuke.
I don't know how to do that.
It's under 4 twice. Okay, let it load, and when the assassin comes in, fire it.
Will it hurt him?
He'll teleport away.
But it won't kill him?
Okay, it'll get rid of him. But, like, okay, let me explain this when you're not getting shot at.
Okay.
You need to use the nuke.
To do what? Is it
to
going
get
to
rid
kill
of these?
him?
Okay, assassins in this game teleport away when they're in mortal danger. Like, character-wise, they will drop their nano and escape. So no, you did not kill the assassin.
Okay.
But he's not going to bother you again. I was going to explain that when you were no longer getting shot at, because you're bad at that.
Right, but I don't want to shoot him if it's not going to actually...
It will remove the threat. For your purposes, you have killed him, but for story purposes, you have not. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't just give you a blanket yes or no because it's complicated. Anyway, children are innocent. What do you think?
So, this is a somewhat complicated... Oh, elevator. This is a somewhat complicated way to answer things because it's a very different situation. The different ways it's been put together in society, as you mentioned. And we have kind of this idea that children are innocent in the sense that they need to be protected from certain things, but that kind of has a double-edged sword that also means children are seen as unable to handle certain subjects or situations simply because they're children, regardless of if there is necessity for them to do so. And we end up with this being misused in a lot of ways. As we mentioned, I think it was back in Harry Potter. There's the whole
think of the children.
Think of the children thing.
Yep. Leaning on the idea that children are always going to be innocent and must be protected, registered trademark, from anything that might cause mild discomfort. It can basically be very easily weaponized as effectively a tool to control a conversation and avoid anything someone else might actually become uncomfortable talking about. Because in many cases, the children they're trying to protect already know about the topic, because you can't feasibly control every single aspect of a child's life and what their friends might talk about and what they might overhear walking down the street or at the store or whatever. So, yeah, more often in my experience, it plays out like you see in Ender's Game, where childhood innocence and keeping certain information away from a child who cannot or should not handle it at their age or whatever's going on makes them an easier tool to use, which is exactly what happens to Ender. He is lied to the entirety of the book. The impetus for getting him to battle school starts off on half-truths. Once he's in battle school, he is deliberately isolated and lied to by the adults in charge of all these kids who are learning to fight for them. And in the end, Ender probably, if he had known the information about the aliens he was fighting in what he thought was a game, he probably would not have done what they wanted him to do, so they played on his innocence, his ignorance that they deliberately cultivated to make him into a useful tool who did what they wanted.
Yep.
And I think in many cases, this is the not as often but probably needs to be discussed aspect of that. Innocence is prized because it makes life simpler in all the positive and negative ways of that. If people do not know information on something, they cannot readily argue against it. They cannot readily argue against misinformation, and sometimes that misinformation has a very targeted goal above the average person's ken. So, yeah, it's a mess, and I think it's played out depressingly realistically over the course of Ender's Game, though I'm not sure that is the takeaway we were meant to get from it. Hard to say. But I think it's also disproven that children are innocent in the sense of they don't know better, or is disproven with this book, because just look at how the other kids behave throughout the course of the book. Like, you have Peter, who is a certifiable sociopath who knows how to hide it. You've got that first bully who sees a 6-year-old child alone, decides, I'm going to beat you up, and then Ender promptly accidentally kills him. You've got Bonzo, who ambushes Ender with a group of people in the bathroom because Ender embarrassed him during a game, with the intent to absolutely wreck Ender, if not completely kill him. which is ironically what happens to Bonzo, because again, Ender is never told that he has killed people, so he doesn't really know that he needs to be more careful with how he does these things. So, yeah. I do not think it is fair to say that Ender's Game agrees with the concept that children are innocent. It goes out of its way to show the opposite.
But it most certainly does weaponize it. While it does not actually teach that children are innocent, the authority figures of the book most absolutely use the innocence of a character to their advantage and as part of their schemes. Oh wow, this is gonna be annoying.
The one I'm thinking of with that is Valentine, who they essentially blackmail into, hey, write this letter to Ender because you know what will happen to the world if we cannot get through to him.
Heh, telling me about the nuke. Ooh, there's a thing up there. But yeah, and they use Ender's innocence and capacity for empathy to their advantage. Because while Valentine was deemed too empathetic, Peter was deemed not empathetic enough.
And I'm not sure it was the lack of empathy so much as just the lack of ability to project social grace. Because you really get the impression early on that they don't want Peter because he's a monster, but they're like, no, we want a monster who's charismatic and able to win over the hearts of his command. We don't think he can do that. They had no problem with him being a monster.
Oh, there were guns there. I'd really rather not follow these guys. Or fight these guys, rather. But yeah, that level of charisma does require a certain level of empathy. It's difficult for people who are not extremely well practiced in such things to project the kind of care and concern for their fellows that they needed Ender to pull off, and which Peter failed to do.
I suppose that's fair. But yeah, like, they do not at all pull punches about, hey, look, we have made these kids... Basically, the kids seem to act like adults, but we also said they happen to be 8, so it's... I'm not sure how much of it is these kids are actually behaving like kids, so much, or it's just the kids are in an environment that does not permit them to act like children, so they have abandoned it, and with it, any vestige of childhood innocence. Once you go to battle school, you're no longer an innocent. But that also doesn't work because we can also see that the kids still on Earth are also difficult to describe as innocent. As mentioned with Valentine and a bully whose name escapes me. Stilson, I think?
I'm drawing a blank.
You just looked it up, it is Stilson.
Okay. I seem to have gotten turned around. Oh, there's stuff up here. Okay, this is the way I should go then. Or no, that's a dead end.
Yeah, I also do want to kind of wonder, just because we do get comments from Valentine and Peter and Ender that suggest that Peter has been as horrible to Ender as he can get away with when his parents aren't watching, if we could actually define Ender as truly innocent, because he is not a stranger to constantly having to watch his back, because he's been in that position before. You cannot get up there with your current health.
With my current health?
You kind of have to blow yourself up to backlash across the way.
Gotcha.
And it takes a full health bar to do it. It's been a while, but I remember that. Yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say here.
I think the primary thing that is relevant in this situation is the understanding that Ender's situation is not an accident. And every bit of reverence for childhood innocence, as well as stripping away thereof, was done completely intentionally by the powers that be.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
It was advantageous to them to do so.
Yep, and I don't know if Ender ever fully recovers psychologically from it. Like, you've mentioned there are sequels, which I have not read, but he seems like he's in such a low place at the end of the book that he's desperately searching for any sort of meaning that lets him not be the monster they made him. Or the hero that everybody insists on calling him. But
the sequels, from what I remember, are very different in tone. Because the war is over, the threat is gone. Alright, it looks like bashing my way through this area is the only way forward. But yeah, the threat is over, the enemy is gone, there is no war. Ender is this essentially forgotten hero. Okay, that just goes back the way I came. Wow, I am getting trashed.
Probably because you haven't fully committed to either a pacifist run or an attack run, and you're trying to split the difference, and it's not really going so well.
Well, I have committed to what I wanted to do, which was not attacking the chasm.
No, Komato, you shot the crap out of the Tazen.
Yes, Komato. But the Komato do not seem to be interested in peace treaty.
No, they are not. Oh, yeah.
There we go.
I think we've kind of run the gamut on the innocence conversation, though.
Yep. I just wanted to note how completely intentional and working as designed this entire situation was.
Yep. So let's get to a good breather point, and we can pick up for next time.
I think this is as good as we're gonna get.
Alright, until then.
See ya.